And we continue now with Sarah Palin, and of course her new book is out. All right, one of the issues I focused in on in the campaign, as a commentator, I'm on the air 4 hours a day, was the president's radical associations. I could not understand why the campaign did not focus on Bill Ayers and Father Pfleger and Jeremiah Wright. You took a lot of heat for saying palling around with terrorists. You wanted to talk about Jeremiah Wright. You write in the book. You were told not to. Why?
I am still perplexed as to why we weren't fair to the electorate and discuss those associations and the past voting records and the experiences that one of the candidates had in his career. I think that it was quite unfortunate. I would remind people that it wasn't negative campaigning and it wasn't off base to call someone out on their associations and on their voting record. Now, what you did, and other common sense conservatives, what you guys did was try to do the job that a campaign should have done. We really missed the boat on that.
You know, it surprised me because, you know, when he said, well, he's only a guy in the neighborhood, a guy you're giving speeches with, a guy you started your political career in his home, you sat on boards with the guy. It wasn't just a guy in the neighborhood, it was a guy that was unrepentant about bombing the Pentagon and the Capitol.
And what was worse was it was even more recent that Ayers had said they didn't do enough harm to our country. And for that not to have been condemned by Barack Obama, I thought was a shame.
Well, just why not bring up Reverend Wright? GD America, America's chickens have come home to roost. He sat there in that church for 20 years. It still amazes me that that was not a bigger issue in the campaign.
It should have been a bigger issue because I think it was indicative of some of the quote-unquote tolerance of a candidate in terms of hearing a message and being fed things that are not good for our country.
Well, is the president then more radical than he let on? Do you think the president's radical?
I will not hesitate to say that his associates have been extremely radical, and we see that then in some of the appointments that he has made. And again, I think that it is unfair to the electorate for a candidate or a campaign to hesitate in calling someone out on what their record really represents.
Yeah, I agree with that. What do you think of, for example, as we talk about this? I think you describe yourself in the book as more conservative than Republican. And you go into this, you say Reagan motivated you to get into politics. Well, Reagan actually, I consider myself a Reagan conservative. A lot of people think I'm a Republican. I'm not. You can register in New York as a conservative. Yeah. Are you more of a conservative or more of a Republican?
You know, it doesn't surprise me that you're not a registered Republican. So many good people whom I know are not registered within a party machine. Todd isn't a registered Republican, and people think, well, I must be pretty weak if I can't even convince my own husband to join the party. But
well, he's part of that group, by the way, that wanted to secede from...
Oh, yeah, supposedly, right. But no, so many Americans, I know up there in Alaska, the majority, about 70% of Alaskans, have that independent, pioneering spirit in them that says, you know, I'm not going to be so obsessively partisan that I let politics get in the way of just fighting for the right things for my state and for my country. Now, I am a registered Republican because I truly believe that the planks in the platform in that party are the best to build my state and our country.
But look, you supported Doug Hoffman in the New York 23rd. And when you did that, that was a big jolt to his campaign. As a matter of fact, according to the latest numbers, he's got a chance to win this thing in the end.
That's exciting.
But it was but you went against the establishment Republican, who was a liberal Republican. I didn't agree with her on a single issue. I was with you and supporting the conservative candidate.
Right.
Will that be your future? Will you do the same thing?
Well, and in that race, the registered Republican, it seems, was more liberal than the registered Democrat candidate. And so that, you know, that confused a lot of people. I had an opportunity to speak out for a common sense conservative who was also quite independent of the party machinery. Heck yeah, and I would do it again in a heartbeat.
What do you think the biggest foreign policy challenge America faces today?
Well, fighting the war on terror still. And I'm quite hesitant to embrace any of the policy that Barack Obama right now is wrestling with in Afghanistan, when it seems that he's kind of dithering and not wanting to make up his mind when he appointed back in March McChrystal to give him a good strategy so that some kind of surge movement could be implemented in that country and that we could start seeing some progress in that war. Sure. For him to not want to listen, at this point anyway, to what McChrystal is asking of him is quite concerning.
McChrystal said it in August. He said we need 40,000 troops or we risk failure. 40,000 troops. The president still hasn't decided.
He needs to decide. And the rest of America then, his constituents, we're watching for the president to show that still spine that Reagan had so exemplified, to show that still spine and say, you know what, we're going to do all that we can to win in Afghanistan. We cannot afford to lose. So I will listen to my advisor when he is asking for the reinforcements. He's asking for the tools for that counterinsurgency strategy. I'm there with him. We're waiting for that.
Your son just got back from a year's deployment in Iraq. He served this country.
Yes.
Do you worry about him serving under a president that is dithering? I'll use your word.
I want to make sure that my son and that every soldier, that every member of our military is equipped to the fullest and as a commander-in-chief who is fully committed to their mission. Now, some people quite war-weary and wondering, why are we even there anymore? Well, the fact of the matter is, and we have to be pragmatic about this, we are there, and it does us no good to start dithering and wondering, oh my gosh, what kind of strategy? We know what strategy we need there. Same strategy as was successful in Iraq. Conditions are different in Afghanistan, especially the geographical conditions,
Governor,
but
there's no war on terror. They're man-caused disasters. We're going to Mirandize enemy combatants on the battlefield.
You know, I was thinking back to my convention speech a year ago, and the words spoken in that convention speech had a lot to do with what we're seeing today with this Mirandizing of enemy combatants, of terrorists. I said in that speech, I said, basically suggesting that I fear that the other candidate is more worried about a terrorist's rights when, an al-Qaeda terrorist is wired to try to destroy America, and somebody may be worried about their rights. Now, what we're seeing today with inviting the trial to be here in New York.
It's Khalid Sheikh Mohammed.
Yes, very scary to think that there would be this assumption that he is protected under our Constitution and has rights when he wants to destroy America.
And and it's unprecedented, well, in as much as you go back to the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, and World War II, we didn't do this. We had military tribunals. But hold that thought. We'll come back to foreign policy.